6 o'clock in the morning, and you wake up shivering. This is not the shiver of a cold room. Florence in August does not have cold rooms. The air that presses through the cracks in the shutters is warm and still and rotten with something that has no name in any language you speak. A sweetness underneath the decay, thick and insistent. The smell of a city that has been eating itself alive for 4 months and has not yet finished. You know this smell the way you know your own hands. You have been breathing it since April, when the ships came in from Genoa carrying something the sailors could not explain, and within a week, the explaining had stopped mattering because the dying had started. The headache behind your eyes is a dull, heavy thing, the kind that sits in the bone rather than the skin. You rub your face with calloused hands so dirty the creases are permanently dark, hands that no amount of water will ever return to what they were before this work. You tell yourself it is the exhaustion. It has to be the exhaustion. Yesterday you hauled 40 bodies, the day before 37. The kind of labor that breaks a man's back does not leave cleanly. It poisons his blood and sits behind his eyes and makes every morning feel like the morning after a drowning. You tell yourself this. You are very good at telling yourself things. You splash stale water on your face from the basin by the door, pull on your coarse linen tunic, the one that still carries the smell of yesterday's work, because there is no point washing it, and step out into the pale Florentine dawn. It is August of the year 1348, and the world as you knew it is gone. Florence was, until recently, a city of 100,000 souls. Now it smells of what August has made of the bodies that no one collected fast enough, of lime poured into open pits, of smoke from the bonfires they set in the piazzas, burning the possessions of the dead, of what the physicians call miasma, bad air, as if the air itself had turned against the city. You grab the wooden handles of your death cart. The wood is smooth and darkened, polished not by craftsmen, but by the sweat of the men who held it before you, men who are now resting in the very pits they used to dig. You are a becchino, a body collector, a gravedigger. Society has always despised men like you, kept you at the edge of the city like a necessary ugliness, paid you not to exist too loudly. But right now, in this August of death, you are the only thing standing between Florence and total collapse. You are worth your weight in gold, and you intend to collect it. By 10 o'clock in the morning, you have already been through 6 streets. You drag your cart through the narrow stone corridors of the Oltrarno quarter, the wheels catching on the uneven cobblestones, the axle groaning with the weight of what you've already collected. The physicians who still remain, most of them fled weeks ago, following the merchants and the nobles to their villas in the hills. The ones who stayed walk the streets with cloths soaked in rose water pressed against their faces, believing that sweet scents can stop the end of the world. You do not have rose water. You have a rag soaked in vinegar, which you press to your face when the smell becomes too specific, when it stops being a general atmosphere and starts being a particular person. You have learned to tell the difference. The doors with painted red crosses face you at every corner. Red crosses mean quarantine, a whole household sealed inside, the sick and the healthy together, locked in by civic decree to stop the spread of whatever is moving through the air or the water or the touch of hands. You have seen what happens inside those houses. You have been the first one through the door afterward, when the silence has gone on too long and the neighbors have called for the guild. Sometimes behind a Red Cross door, you find a single survivor, half mad with thirst, surrounded by the ones who did not survive. Sometimes you find no survivors at all. As you round a corner into a small piazza, you see a priest. He is young, younger than you, kneeling on the filthy cobblestones beside a dying man whose skin is covered in dark blotches the color of a bruise 3 days old. The priest is whispering the last rites, his hand resting gently on the dying man's forehead, with a tenderness so complete and unguarded that for a moment you simply stop and watch. You know what that priest is doing. He is signing his own death warrant with the same hand that makes the sign of the cross. The church has no answers for this plague. Not the prayers, not the processions, not the bloodletting or the flagellants who beat themselves bloody in the streets as offerings. And yet, these parish priests, the ones without the connections to flee, without the wealthy patrons to spirit them away, these men keep walking into the rooms where the dying are, keep kneeling on the filthy cobblestones, keep offering the only thing they have left to give, which is the certainty that someone is there. Before this year is over, 4 out of every 10 priests in Florence will be dead. They trade their lives for the salvation of strangers, and they do it without arithmetic. You are not that kind of man. When the priest finishes and the man on the cobblestones goes still, you step forward. You hold out your hand to the widow standing in the doorway. You name your price. Her face does the thing faces do when a number meets grief, the brief, terrible calculation of whether dignity costs more than it's worth right now. It doesn't. The gold coin drops into your palm with a weight that surprises you every time. It always surprises you. It feels like survival. You load the body onto the cart and keep moving. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you are standing at the edge of the trench. There are no more individual graves. Individual graves belong to before April, before the ships, before the red crosses and the locked doors. Now the dead come in volumes that individual graves cannot absorb. The trenches outside the city walls are wide and long and deep, and the men of your guild arrange the dead in layers. A row of bodies, a thin covering of earth, then another row on top. One of the older becchini gave it a name before he died, 3 weeks ago, of the same thing everyone is dying of. He called it the devil's lasagna. The name stuck because there is something about the worst things that demands a name, even a terrible one. If this story's pulling you in, hit like and subscribe. There are more last hours to tell. The afternoon sun is merciless on the open trench. You climb down to arrange the newest arrivals. The cart brought 14 since midday, and the smell at the bottom is something that exists and entirely outside the capacity of language to describe. You breathe through your mouth. You have learned to breathe through your mouth. Then a hand closes around your boot. You stop. The hand is small, thin as parchment, the skin the color of old wax. It belongs to a young woman, 20, perhaps 22, and she is not dead. Her chest is moving. Her eyes are open. Her pulse, when you press your fingers to her wrist, is so weak it feels like a moth pressing broken wings against a window pane. Rhythmic, but barely there, barely refusing to stop. She cannot speak. She has no air for it. But her fingers tighten on your boot, with a desperation so specific that it means something you do not want it to mean. You stand at the bottom of a mass grave with a living woman at your feet, and you do the mathematics that this year has made of compassion. The hospital is 2 miles back. It has had no free beds since May, almost no nurses, most of them dead or fled. You would carry her there, lose the rest of your pay, and she would die in a corridor before nightfall. Or you could finish your work. The trench must be closed. You look into her eyes for a long time, and then you swing the shovel. The earth covers her face. The sound it makes is a sound you will not describe, not even to yourself, not even in the privacy of the thoughts that come at 3 in the morning when sleep will not return. You tell yourself you did her a mercy. You tell yourself this quickly, without stopping to examine it. The way you have learned to move through this entire year, quickly, without stopping. Because stopping is where the thing lives that will unmake you entirely if you let it. By 8 o'clock in the evening, the city above has gone quiet. But you are still working. Not at the trench. The trench is closed, covered and limed, finished for the day. You are somewhere else now, in the older cemetery on the eastern edge of the city, far from the mass graves, alone in the dark with a lantern and a pickaxe. You are carving a perfect rectangle into the earth, 7.5 feet long, 3 feet wide, 6 feet deep. A single grave measured precisely, dug with a care that the trenches do not require. You tell yourself you know why you are here. A nobleman, a wealthy patron who sought you out this morning in the streets. You remember the gold coin, heavy in your palm, the one you collected this morning, and he paid you to dig a private grave, decent and separate, away from the trenches and the lime and the anonymous dead. Gold buys sweat, gold buys nights, gold buys silence. You are simply fulfilling a commission. The cough that tears out of your chest at 9:30 is different from yesterday's cough. Yesterday's cough was the dust, the graveyard dust, the bone-dry August earth, the general atmosphere of the work. This cough comes from somewhere deeper, from below the lungs, from the place where the lungs meet what holds them in place. It sounds like wood splitting. You fall against the dirt wall of the grave and stay there, shaking until the shaking decides to stop. When you bring your forearm to your face in the dark, the moonlight that spills into the hole catches the sleeve. There is a stain on it, dark and wet. You are coughing blood. The earth, you tell yourself. The bad air, the exertion. You have been working 17 hours. Any man's throat would bleed. You push off the wall. The fever you have been pretending is not happening. Burns beneath your skin now like a coal buried too shallow. You can feel the heat radiating outward. Feel it in your face, in your hands, in the soles of your feet. But the grave is not finished. The nobleman is coming. The grave must be perfect. You strike the earth again. Hit, scrape, throw, hit, scrape, throw. You are very good at this. You have been doing it for 4 months. You know the rhythm the way you know your own heartbeat. At nearly midnight, the grave is ready. You stop digging. You lean on the pickaxe and look up from the bottom of the hole, and above you the edges of the grave frame the sky into a rectangle of absolute dark filled with stars, more stars than you can normally see, because there are fewer fires in Florence now, fewer torches, fewer lanterns, fewer people to light them. The sky above a dying city is very clear. You wait. The nobleman's cart should be coming. You should hear hooves on the path, or the voice of a servant, or the soft sound of hired mourners. You lean your back against the cold wall of earth and wait. There is no sound. There is nothing but the wind and your own breathing, which has taken on a quality you have heard before. A wetness, a catch, the sound of something filling with fluid that should not be there. The pain in your thigh, which you have been calling a pulled muscle since the afternoon, stops being a pulled muscle at approximately midnight. It stops being a pulled muscle and becomes a continuous howling signal in every nerve it can reach. A pain so specific and so total that you bite down on your own hand to keep from making a sound, because making a sound in an empty cemetery at midnight seems like a kind of surrender you are not prepared to make. With hands that are shaking badly now, you slide your fingers down your thigh, through the soaked fabric, down to the place where the pain is loudest. The lump is the size of an apple, hot as a coal just pulled from the fire, hard as a stone that has been in the earth for 100 years. It pulses with your heartbeat, each pulse a separate agony, patient and regular and merciless. The bobo, the swollen lymph node, the signature of the plague, the thing you have been loading onto carts for 4 months, the thing that was always on someone else. The realization does not come slowly. It arrives all at once, like a wall falling inward, and it takes every other thought with it on the way down. There was no nobleman. There was no commission. The gold coin in your memory was the widow's coin, the one you extorted from the grieving woman on the cobblestones this morning. Payment for her husband. payment you demanded with your hand held out while the body was still warm. The grave was never for a nobleman. Your mind, cooking in a fever that has been building since before dawn, the headache, the chills in August, the exhaustion heavier than 40 bodies should explain. Your mind built the story of the commission, the way the sick body builds the fever. As a protection, as a necessary lie, because the truth was a thing it already knew and could not yet survive knowing. Like an animal that feels the end coming and walks alone into the dark to find a quiet place. Your body picked up the pickaxe at dusk and walked here and dug with the precision of a man who has done this 10,000 times and knows exactly what the measurements should be. 7.5 feet long, 3 feet wide, 6 feet deep. Your legs stop working. You fall backward against the far wall, slide down the cold earth, and land on the floor of the grave with a sound that is dull and final. It does not hurt. The fever has moved past the stage where pain registers correctly. The stars above you are impossibly bright and impossibly far away, framed by the perfect rectangle of earth you carved with your own hands. Your head rests against the top wall. Your boots brush the bottom. The measurements are flawless. Florence will lose 60,000 people before this plague is finished. A third of Europe will be gone before the decade ends. The grave pits will close. The city will rebuild. But that is years from now. Tonight, in August of 1348, at the bottom of a grave on the edge of a dying city, you close your eyes. The grave, from the very beginning, was always meant for you. That was one story. There are thousands more. Subscribe if you want to hear them. And in the comments, tell us which last hours to tell next. We'll see you there.